Greetings, folks, and welcome to Mind the Moment in Everyday Life. Now, each month we take a theme and we explore how mindfulness can support us in bringing that theme to life in our everyday lives. Our theme for this month of April has been the Mindful Gardener. Now, we've been exploring mindfulness practices that support how we garden, as well as gardening practices that inform what it means to be mindful. I'm your host, John Roberts from Living Well Community, your home for interactive virtual wellness classes and on-demand programming created and curated by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Tufts Health Plan. I'm thrilled to be joined one more time by your mindfulness guide, Shanti Douglas. Welcome to you, Shanti. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic and welcome Earth Day today. I'm so happy I wore my Earth Day, my flower shirt to celebrate what we're talking about in Earth Day.
And you can't see, but there's actually flowers on this. It's a little bit tiny, little tiny ones.
I love that.
So, Shanti, if I may, one thing I've really appreciated in terms of the guidance that you've been offering us this month is you made so clear each stage in the planting process and how it can correspond with some way that we might inhabit our own lives in the most fruitful way possible. Let me just recap real quickly here. So, in our first session, we talked about planting seeds. Those included literal seeds like zinnias or peas, but also the seeds of mindfulness that we can plant within ourselves, such as kindness, humility, creativity, compassion. Then in subsequent weeks, you were having us study what our literal seeds might need more or less of, this amount of sunshine, this amount of water. And we went on to ask, likewise, what we might need to support our seeds of mindfulness. Some nights we might need to go out and spend time with people, while on other nights we might need to keep to ourselves. And then most recently, we were talking about what things or experiences that we might need to weed out or remove from both our literal and our mindful gardens in order to just make sure that the seeds we want to cultivate have the room and the opportunity to grow. Now, Shanti, I don't, we don't need to get into a detailed discussion of how invasive species of plants might infiltrate our gardens and choke off resources from the plants that we're trying to tend. But I'm curious about your thoughts on those things that we might consider to be invasive influences in our lives, like those experiences or even people that we might not have asked for or invited in, but which still pop up and which we still need to deal with. If these invasive influences, if they feel like a threat to our mindful gardens, how would you suggest approaching dealing with them?
Yes, what a great question. So, I always come back to the practice that we're practicing here. For me, it always begins with a mindful pause to identify what feels invasive here. Where does it feel invasive here? What boundary is being overstretched? And while I can't control necessarily what somebody else is doing or saying, or even the weather conditions, I can come back and take the time, make the moments to take care of myself within that. And that might mean that I come back and I restructure, my environment, which in the literal garden, vegetable garden, it might be making sure that I have a good fence around my yard so the animals can't get in, right? It might mean that I'm having a conversation with someone and reaffirming what it is that I need, but really begins, I believe, with our mindfulness and our meditation practice so that I can get clear and not get reactive.
Yeah, what I'm hearing from that, Shanti, is that if we have a good sense of the feelings of what it feels like when something is, kind of working on us, then it might help us to understand, like, well, can I handle this? Is this a situation I can handle, or is this one I need to step back from? Like, I suppose it begins with knowing, what we need in that moment, which is, I think, a theme in all of these sessions.
Yes, exactly.
So
Exactly.
seeing some great things in the chat here. Katie says she's trying to focus on things that she can control and release the rest. Heather is concentrating on self-care in many ways, including joining us for these sessions, allows her to show up for everything else in a much calmer and more present way. Mimi says, I like to celebrate my birthday. That's how to celebrate herself. But yeah, wow, just the whole, is celebrating the whole journey and how, everything that's happened in her life that brought her to where she is now. Wonderful.
I
Well,
love all of those. Definitely agree. What can we control? What can't we control? Because so often we want to keep things, we want to change things, right? We don't want to give up on things, but then there has to be a point we have to recognize, all right, now I'm depleting myself. Now I'm probably maybe even making it worse and just letting it go. And that is not easy, right? We talked about that last week with the weeding. It's not easy to thin things out sometimes. Yeah, the self-care, so super important. Thanks for being here. And then I love Mimi's share because it's exactly what we're going to bring into our meditation today. Maybe we have a conversation before this. I don't
we're
know.
on the same wavelength here. Well, speaking of which, Shanti, so how would you like to guide or direct us today?
Yeah. So of course, we always want to come into a nice, comfortable posture, whatever works for you, whether that's sitting, standing, laying down, even. And yeah, loosening up that belly, letting that belly relax so the breath can just more fully and completely come into our body. And beginning with just a gentle body scan, becoming familiar with how we are, how our beautiful earth is in this moment, and taking care of it by either readjusting, letting go of things that we're holding, caring for anything that might be sore or tender. And drawing your attention inward and touching upon the the stability that you have, not just in your physical form, but really in your complete energetic form as well, right? There's a great stability that we have. There's a strength to our life force. And no matter what your life has already offered you, right? The joyous things, the horrific events, even the bland spaces in between that we don't necessarily notice all the time or even pay attention to. I really like to bring in the awareness as we are reaping our life rewards that every single thing is right here. Right? You, as you are a conglomeration, a result of everything in your life. And while, of course, there's things that maybe I didn't want, I didn't like, we can't change any of that. So bringing an aspect of, wow, what a wonderful gift. How glorious is that? We want to celebrate. Yes, I am the result of everything. How wonderful. So breathing that wonder into yourself. Noticing all the parts and all the pieces that have come together, all the different avenues and aspects, all the different experiences. And over our lifetime, we've had a bazillion beginnings and endings. And with our mindfulness practice, our meditation practice, they're all right here. This breath, this inhale, this receiving, this exhale, this letting go. This is truly the cadence of our life, moment to moment to moment, bringing things in, absorbing, letting things go, releasing. And as we breathe in and experience, and as we breathe out and let go, we've changed. We're never the same. We're always a little bit different. And that's the fruit of our harvest, right? That's the beauty, the gift of our life, to be with as we are, as we're experiencing, as we're changing, we're learning, we're growing. So smile to all the moments of your life. Smile to the harvest you've had, the riches, the richness, all levels of abundance. And I'll invite a quiet space for the next few minutes so each one of us can keep breathing in that goodness. Keep inviting in the awareness of those experiences, the beauty, the gifts. And even in this moment, feeling free to let go of what no longer serves. Breathing in with grateful heart. Breathing out with grateful heart. And to close our practice together, let's all collectively take 3 deep, slow breaths, breathing in our collective abundance and breathing out our shared goodness. Thank you, everyone.
Shanti, I was struck by this idea of how thinking about the things in our lives that led us to where we are today. I feel like it can be very simple to, or it can be typical to think of those things almost like a Venus flytrap, and you can get trapped in the past, right? But you can
Mm.
also use them almost as the nectar in a flower, draw the energy from both the good things and maybe the not so good things that have happened, and use that to sort of launch yourself towards the future, your next adventure. I was really appreciating that part of the meditation.
I love that. That's a wonderful representation. Yeah.
The other
Maybe
thing,
nectar will give us enough energy to crank open the trap, you know.
yeah, right, exactly. And I was reflecting on this quote from many decades ago, where the president of General Motors said, "I've always thought that what's good for the country is good for General Motors, and what's good for General Motors is good for the country." And I've been thinking about that in relation to Earth Day and how when the Earth is in stable, good working order, it of course welcomes us in, is there to, nurture and nourish us. But also when we are stable, we are feeling in a place of kindness and compassion, we are better able to then, give to the earth what it needs. And I feel like that is the kind of balance that we are hoping to restore in practices like this one.
Yeah. And also not forgetting that we are earth.
Mm.
We are earth walking,
Mhm.
right? All of the elements are within us. There's not one single thing that if you were to take it away wouldn't be part of us.
Mm.
Right. And it's so important the impact that each single one of us can have. And I encourage everybody today to, plant something, plant a seed, go back. You don't even have to go back for the 4 weeks and start over again. But maybe it's just a planting, kindness, or planting a flower,
Mm.
or just, doing something to celebrate Earth. Go have tea with a tree. If you've never had tea with a tree, I'm a massive tea drinker. And just sit with your back by a tree, and you'll just feel the energy, and the tree feels your energy, and this whole sense of coherence can really come together, and it's beautiful. And today is gorgeous out, right? It's going to be like 70 and sunny, and I love it. So I'm super pumped. And I wanted to share before I forget. Here's the zinnias. They're much taller. I would say this is at least 5 inches tall. So much, much taller. 3 weeks.
This is so you have the touch. You have the touch,
Yes.
Shanti. Um, Nathan has this really beautiful message here. He complimented you on the meditation, first of all, Shanti, and then said, reflecting on the things, even the hard things that brought us here, experiencing gratitude for the wisdom they provided. Despite the hard things, we made it through. We are still here. I think that's a wonderful way to put it. I was also thinking about how I was in a meeting recently where people were talking about how we never look up, right? We don't spend enough time looking up. And I've been doing this in my yard. I've been trying to just like take a moment, just like look up the tops of the trees, and it's really an amazing
Mhm.
experience. I know it sounds corny, it sounds very simple, but if you do it, you realize the extent to which you don't do it most of the time. And,
It reminds me like when I walk up a hill or a mountain, I'm so focused on not tripping,
hmm,
and I want to make sure that my feet are landing, that it's only occasionally when I'll stop and then I look up and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a massive, like, beautiful sky right here. But I'm so focused on this.
mhm.
So one of the things I'll invite people to do today too, I just did it yesterday, was really inviting, was just to lay on the earth. So do some earthing practice, really good for readjustment of our nervous system. And again, yeah, do the cloud meditation or the sky meditation. And there were a whole bunch of birds that were coming. And it was interesting. There was like two, and then there was three, and then there was four, and then there was a hawk that came. And then there were four or five other birds that followed the hawk because I think they were watching, where's this hawk going? So it was like a whole interesting community up in the
Mm.
sky that I wouldn't have noticed or been a part of if I hadn't been laying on the earth, just absorbing the good stuff.
And I feel like I should do just a little piece of medical advice. Do that, and then check yourself for ticks afterwards. Just it's part of the deal. Part of the deal. But I will say, I live in a place, not far from you, Shanti, where there are a lot of ticks around. So, but I find the daily tick check is actually an excellent way to really to
Be
get in
mindful with
touch
your
with
body.
one's body and really see what's going on, which is good as well. Make sure that no new spots that need to be looked at or anything. But so Shanti, we are here at the really close to the close of our last session together. Do you have any either closing words of advice or just as we're continuing to plant within and without ourselves, just what should be thinking about and looking towards and anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, my thing is always self-care, right? I think when we take care of ourselves, then we can take care of everything else. So my invitation is to engage with maybe something, a new way of taking care of yourself.
Hmm.
You know, it is springtime too, so it's great to initiate a new practice. We have a new month coming up. New months are super exciting. 30, 31 days to try something new. But maintaining that curiosity and that playfulness with your practice, knowing that mindfulness meditation doesn't have to be the standard of what many of us do, but I can bring in mindfulness into any piece of my life puzzle. And when I'm engaged in that even more, I can make it a meditation. So that's my open invitation to everyone. Be playful, get curious. What's here? Bring in that childlike mind for sure.
And apropos to what you said earlier, Shanti, I guess to remind folks, if you're doing something like what Shanti talked about, lying in the earth, looking up at the sky, that is meditation. If you are bringing your attention to what is going on without any sort of judgment or without letting, your mind just run amok, but you're really sort of just like watching the birds, watching the clouds. That is meditation. You've done
That's
it. You're doing it. That's
yeah. And you feel so good afterwards.
yeah.
So good. And it doesn't take forever, right? We know that.
Mhm.
We're all preaching to the preachers here. We all know that. Everyone here knows that. So just my encouragement, just do it. Have fun.
Shanti, thank you for your guidance today and all month. I can't wait till we have a chance to do it. Again, your insights and your guidance have just been wonderful to receive. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, for sure.
As we close, a final bit of verse from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, who wrote, "Awake, arise, the athlete's arm loses its strength by too much rest. The fallow land, the untilled farm, produces only weeds at best." So thank you for taking time to flex your mindfulness and gardening muscles with us in these sessions. I hope that what we unpacked here are tools to help you wisely and tenderly tend the gardens within yourself and without. We hope to see you again soon. Until then, folks, please do go forth and be excellent to each other.